Getting ready to press out this bad bearing that's here. I'm not quite sure how to get this one out. There's no hole or anything in the back to press it out. So the bearing is actually in good condition. So worst case scenario, I did get a new one, but if I can't get it out, I'm gonna have to end up leaving it there. I'm gonna try a few things first. Of course, the heat and cold trick. I may try that, but if it's too much of a headache, I'll just leave it. It's really not bad at all. This is the bad one. I think the the seal went bad on it, and the guy that had it before me, you could tell that he had water in his belt for a while. I've used it for about a year. I knew I was gonna end up doing this, but it's just time to fix it right. To press it out, I'm gonna go to the press. I have this 20mm socket. Put it right there and then press it out. There you go. Easy as that. Now that I got the old bearing out, the way I like to do things, to make it a little bit simple, especially if you don't have a service manual with you, I replace the bad parts as I go. So in other words, when I take this out, I look for the same bearing thickness, the same way it looks and everything, and I'm assuming it's gonna go there. I got two in the whole kit that I got, so I'm assuming these two are exactly the same. They look to be the same, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that on there. Like I said, I only got two. If that one I can't get out, I'm gonna reuse, but it's probably better to get it removed. Here's my parts list that I ordered. There's not a kit that you can buy. I looked everywhere. You have to select your own things and buy them. Don't know if you can see them, but here's everything that I bought for my Can-Am. I don't think you'll be able to see the item numbers or anything. It wasn't too terribly bad. It wasn't too expensive, I didn't think. Some of the needle bearings were good. I'm gonna go ahead and replace them since I already have them off. The seals are kind of pricey. I think these two bearings, along with maybe some other ones, you can buy at a regular bearing shop. All the needle bearings, I believe, you have to buy from Can-Am. So they can get a little pricey for a bearing, but it's a lot better than spending over $1,000 to replace your transmission. Used, they sell for about $1,000 new. Didn't price it because I know I didn't want to get that far into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace that. Simply just press it back in. Make sure you lube it with some motor oil or gear oil first to kind of help. Slide it in there. Make sure everything's clean. You don't have any metal shavings or anything. So if you're trying to figure out what bearing goes where, like I said, one way to figure it out is replace it as you go along. But just kind of compare the old bearing with the new one. Every one of them is going to be a little bit different. Especially the hole, or the round part that goes into the case or whatever gear it may be. I'm pretty sure these two go here. The opening seems to be exactly the same. This one, as you can see, has a little bit more of a surface on it, a little bit thicker, just like this one here. So I'm guessing that bearing's for that. The only difference between the new ones that I got and the old ones is that the inside where the bearings are at are plastic on these. Maybe it's just a cover, I don't know. On the old ones it's metal. And then there's another one that looks almost exactly the same, but if you can see, the hole is a little bit different. That one goes right in here. The way I know is because I tried putting it in there. It slides right in there. It seems to be the same size. So I'm sure that goes there. This one goes here. So I'm gonna go ahead and install that. Just remember to put some oil on there. Make it a little bit easier to slide in, and make sure everything's clean without any trash, no metal shavings, and press it in there and you're done. And once you get it all pressed in there, you should be good to go. I got a mess in here, but I'm getting ready to install the bearing on this shaft thing. I'm not sure of the names. Never done this before. But there's a shim that goes in first. Slide that in there. Then you put your bearing. Now, to get your old bearing out, you don't really need a press. I just pulled it right out. Just takes a little bit of time, and if you don't feel like messing with it, you could tap it out with a hammer. Looks like I'm gonna have to tap it in, just a tad. But once you put that in there, there's this oil seal that goes on there, and then almost the exact same thing in the back. So you have an oil seal. That bearing should be able to slide out. I may have to press it out, I'm not sure. And you put it exactly the way it came out back, same order, and you should be good to go with that piece. And then I'll move along to this is the piece that got messed up. The needle bearing is completely demolished. So needle bearing goes in, then the shim, and then once I get all this stuff done, I can start putting it back together. On to the next. There's a little clip. You just undo the clip. This thing slides up. You have a little needle bearing in here. Looks in good shape, but I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. So I'll take that out and put it back together, and you're good to go. New needle bearing. Shim or washer, whatever you want to call it. I already put the other bearing in. Just make sure you lube everything up with motor oil or gear oil, since they are new bearings if you're going to replace them. That way it's nice and lubed whenever you go ahead and put it on go, and it doesn't bind anything up. Here's my new bearing. This goes in right here where it got pressed out. And this little gear goes just like this. One side's kind of has a little part sticking out that goes into the case. This goes facing up. So when you put it in, it goes right like this. Just like that. And it has to be pressed in too. Getting ready to install this little guy. It has a spring, and then it has a funky little washer underneath. The flat washer goes on top, then this, then that other washer, and then the spring. When you install it, make sure you put the back of the spring there so it can get loaded. So when you tighten it, it's gonna be kind of springy, just like this. Next goes your parking lot lever. It goes in this little groove right there. Put the screw with the washer. And whenever you tighten the ones back here, make sure you do it evenly. Do one at a time. That way you don't get anything bind and strip your case. I figured out how to get the bearing, the old bearing out. It looked pretty good, but I went ahead and replaced it because it's just better to do it. I already had it, so the hardest part was figuring out how to get it out, which was a pain. I rented a tool and it didn't quite work, So I just went to the local hardware store and I got a bolt that's kind of rounded. Doesn't really have to fit in the hole, just kind of sits on top, and I welded it on there. And then I welded the bearing so it quit spinning. And then I just grabbed a piece of metal, placed it on top like this, and put the nut on there all the way down, and then just tighten it until the bearing popped out. So when you do that, it's a lot easier. You don't have to buy a special tool. If you have a welder, great. If not, then I guess this won't work for you. But if you do have one, this works great, and you don't have to buy no special tool, because this bearing's a booger to get out because there's no way to punch it out from the back. So that's what I did. Hopefully it's helpful to you guys. Everything else is done. Go ahead and put it together. Should go fairly easy once I put that new bearing back on there. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Start putting back together the transmission. Here's the first part I'm going to put in, and that goes in this clearing, that bearing right there. This goes facing down, so I'll put that in there. That's on. Then I'm gonna go ahead and install a shim. Right there on that new bearing I just put on. Next I'm gonna put this gear. This is pretty much what I'm gonna put in there. Needle bearing. It's in there. This goes in there. And then this will shim in there as well. It goes in there just like this. You got your needle bearing, your shim on top. That pretty much goes in there. I just have to wiggle it in there. Make sure all the gears are all lined up, just like that. Next, gonna go ahead and install this. This goes right in here. That. Then this is what tells you the what gear you're in: reverse, neutral, low, high. And the research that I found is that these little bumps here indicate what gear you're on. And I believe, let's see, I wrote it down somewhere. Alright. Don't know if you can see it. If you can see the 1, that's your parking. 2 is your reverse. 3 is neutral. 4 high gear. 5 low gear. So we're going to try and put it in the neutral position, which is, according to this piece of paper that I have, this is 1, 2, 3. It's this one right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on there. Get a screwdriver, put it in the slot, move it, and it should slide in there. Now I don't know the exact order on what you put on first. I might have done it wrong. Again, I've never done this before. So I went ahead and took this off, but now I'm gonna go ahead and put it back on there. And the reason for that is because these little pins that are sticking out go in here, and that's what moves it up and down to engage the gear that you selected. So once you put those in the slot that you have up here, you can test this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now, and then we'll go on to the next step, and I'll bring it up a little bit more so you can see a little bit better what I'm trying to do. I got the gears out. I had to take this one, just the top one, out in order to stick these in those grooves right here that you see. You can see, I know it's kind of blurry, but trust me, they're in there. And that's what engages your gears. Next, you put this on here, and you have a marking, which is right there. Try to put it in the middle. That's gonna line up with this. See the indentation on there? That's supposed to line with the indentation on that little piece of plastic. So now you know you're good to go. So next, I'm gonna make sure and test everything. What you do is you put your screwdriver in there, pull it out, and then just kind of move this and see if everything moves freely up and down without binding up or anything. That's how you know you put everything back together. So go ahead and test it right now. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. And then once I get that done, I'm going to start putting the cover back on and putting the bolts and gasket maker on there so I can get it installed into the Can-Am. Pretty much done. I'm fixing to close up the case. Put some gasket maker, RTV, whatever you want to call it, around both sides. So I'm going to get ready to put them in and let it sit for an hour before I tighten them up. Here's the other half. Now the hardest bearings to get out and to find are these two, this one and that one. If you look at the diagram, it's not really helpful whatsoever. So I took the guessing out for you guys. Here are the two part numbers. This should be the needle bushing, part number 420832240, and then another needle bushing, part number 420232085. So that's both of those. I also got a distance little sleeve because mine was pretty rusty, so I got one of these. Go ahead and put that on. But yeah, that's it. I did have more detailed videos, but they accidentally got deleted, so hopefully what I have is enough. Hopefully you can put it together with other videos that are around YouTube, and hopefully this one helps. I tried to film as much as I could, but again, some got deleted and I can't get them back, so hopefully this helps. I didn't feel like taking it all apart and redoing it again. Pretty much the only videos that got deleted are the ones that I did with coming out of the four-wheeler, you know, all the bolts and stuff, but that's fairly easy. Everything's really easy. Hopefully this helps you guys and it'll make you do it yourself. It's really not that hard and doesn't really take that long to do if you have all the parts. I'm guessing maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and then you know, putting it back to your ATV. So Really doesn't take that long. Just plan on doing it for a whole day. Maybe have a friend help you. Make it a little bit fun. Hopefully this helps you guys, and go ahead and get ready to put them together, and I'll film me putting it back on. Hopefully that helps you guys figure out how to take it off. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Alright, so I'll put back together. Now I need to put some the remaining seals. I already got the engine seal on there. It's not leaking oil or anything. So the reason why I decided to rebuild this is because before I had a lot of play up and down and side to side. Now it's a good, no play whatsoever. So go ahead and install those seals and put it back together, and then hopefully you get back in the road and start riding again. Now I'm installing the transmission. It's fairly easy. You have 3 bolts or nuts. There's one, there's 2 on the other side, which I'll point them out here in a little bit. To remove it, you undo this transmission bolt and the engine one, which is still off in the front, and that allows you to slide it forward a little bit. You also have to undo the rear differential to get the rear drive shaft off. You just have 4, 2 in the top, 2 in the bottom, slide it out. You don't even have to take the tires off. Up here we have the other 2 nuts, one in the top up here and one in the bottom. I also undid the exhaust for the rear and the front. The one in the front I'm not so sure you have to remove, but I went ahead and did it just to make sure it would be as easy as possible. You do have to wiggle it out and back in. Some pry bars help, but other than that it's pretty straightforward, really easy, not that complicated. Just make sure you make some notes if you can't remember, or some pictures, maybe some videos, and it should go back fairly easy. But it's pretty straightforward. I'm just shooting this because some videos didn't have what I needed, and I know if you're trying to do it yourself, the more information you have, the easier and the more confident you'll be. Other than that, it's really just easy. Just make sure you have enough patience to do it, and you'll be fine. But go ahead and button it up. Finish getting it ready. I'll put some fluids in there, make sure nothing leaks. I did put some engine oil, and I put a new oil filter on the engine to make sure that the engine didn't leak, because there's only one seal that separates the transmission and the engine. It hasn't been leaking, so now I'm gonna go ahead and try the transmission before I put the rear drive shaft back on. So I'm just gonna give it a few hours, make sure everything's okay, and then I'll go ahead and put everything back the way it was.